Alright, second half of episode 2, Seita's dance audition.
I gave you my everything, or you were gone. I'm gonna be okay. Gonna be okay. I'll be okay. Gonna be okay. Baby, without you, baby, without you, 뭐君なしでもいつかは分ける一人でも歩けるからどうしてさ Tell me why どうしてこんなに make me cry 過ごした時間の数だけの way この胸に押し寄せてくるもう君は OK without me I'm gonna be okay Gonna be okay I'll be okay Gonna be okay Baby without you Baby without youもう君なしでも必ず今登る一人でも歩けるさ
It's interesting to see how different all of the trainee choreographies are. You know what I mean? Like they come up with some different ideas. I don't know. I think Tomoya did that song also, right? But his was like a completely different original type of choreography. And so then you see Seita's take here on it, and it's got a very different feel, right? He was, using some of that expression, like that ability to kind of show the emotion. I think he actually, his height, his build, his frame, and all of that can create some really good lines. Like it's very strong, and there's certain movements that are always interesting to me. Like there's a couple of steps that he goes backwards, right? And there's the way that the posture is. There's a way of keeping your presence like up towards the front of your body, and almost make it seem like you're being sort of pulled back, right, by something else. And so I mean, it was interesting, right? It was good. It was, very strong. I don't know what JYP is going to say, though.
Dance はまだ関節を良くする方法を知らないです。モデルとして活動してきたと聞きましたとき、本当に心配しました。
You don't really move when you model?
モデルは自分自身を完全になくして、完全に別の人になって感情表現をするべきですけど、歌手はもともと自分の姿を維持して自分に実際に起きたことのように表現するだから、 とっても違います。でも感情表現が本当に自然でした。
ありがとうございます。
会見とパフォーマンスが合わさって漫画を見るみたいです。
It's interesting. That kind of makes sense, right? It's considering that he's a model. Because if you look at illustrations and comics and manga and stuff, that's what, because what he means is like that was kind of the point of the this style of comic, right? Was to show emotion through like examples of motion and stuff. Whereas like American comics is about action, like dynamics and stuff, move like physical dynamic movement. Superman's cape, he has a cape because otherwise you wouldn't be able to tell he was flying, you know. But it is interesting. I was thinking, you know, in terms of like modeling work, when it was showing like the B-roll, just the footage of him like younger when he was at shoots, you're not necessarily trying to move all that much. I mean, you're trying to like, you know, give this impression that you're doing something, and sometimes there are photo shoots that are a little bit more dynamic too. They might have you, I don't know, jumping around or something, but it's very constrained still, you know, and that's because there has to be a focus that's often very close. And you know, like but it was interesting the way that JYP kind of explained it. You know, you're what you're trying to express, say through a photo shoot for a model, is not really, it's not an original idea, I think, is kind of like the point there. And when you come to do this type of performance, you want to express your idea of the concept. So it was an interesting take. It really was.
練習生を7ヶ月しかやっていないことを考えると本当に印象的ですね。
ありがとうございます。
聞いてください。聞いてください。
ありがとうございます。
That felt like a close call.
頑張ってください。
ありがとうございます。
Just because the previous trainee is right. But that's what he was saying. The difference in the skill level. At least he's got the self-awareness to know I'm not as good as they are, but I want to do this.
漫画を見ているようでした。
Kind of, yeah.
体験と感情表現が
Also, the way his choreography was like set up, you know, like there's a lot like the starting pose, and then you know the turning, like you can almost see that in the frames, right? Like it was interesting.
漫画みたいです。OK。読んでください。
안녕하세요. 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 こんにちは.大阪から来たポッピンマシン16歳井上春です。僕はポッピンダンスの一発で圧倒される魅力に惹かれて4年間ポッピンダンスをしてきました。よろしくお願いします。
JYP の練習生活を6ヶ月間しましたね。
はい。
どうでしたか？
すごく僕は初めてのことがたくさんあったので慣れないことばかりでしたが、 すごく設備などがすごく整っていて練習がしやすくてとても楽しみながらできました。
That organic cafeteria.
僕はコロナの影響で日本で約2ヶ月間オンライン授業を受けて約4ヶ月間韓国で練習をしてきました。
Oh, wow.
はい、そうです。僕は小さい頃からお姉ちゃんがダンスをしているのを見て、僕も小学4年生からダンスを始めました。最初はヒップホップから始まり、その中でもポッピンをやっていたんですが、ダンスを始めた頃からもっとたくさんの人に見てもらったり、僕もこんなアーティストになりたいって思ったのがきっかけです。井上春、ありがとうございました。お願いします。韓国での練習ではポッピンをずっとやっていたので、その癖がすごく残っていて、すごく動きが硬くなってしまうことがすごく多かったので、本当にロボットみたいにロボットのような動きで新メニューを踊っていてて、
Yeah, for sure.
それを直すためにまず基礎からもうヒップホップの基礎など K-POP の基礎からまず1からしっかり練習したり、
表情、自分がしている表情そのまま一人で変わり頬骨を上に。
僕は1日にやらなければいけないことをこのようにスマホにやらなければいけないことをまとめています。毎日 K-POP ダンスの振り付けを覚えて、それを忘れないためにこういった自分なりの工夫を1個しています。上手くなればなるほど、まず一番に自分が上手くなりたいっていう気持ちがすごく大きくて、それのおかげで頑張れたのもあるんですけど。
It's interesting because he's saying, if I'm understanding it correctly, right? He's been a trainee for 6 months, but when he got started, because of everything that was going on, he had to stay remote for the first 2 months. So JYP, the company, right, had seen something in his potential, his ability, that actually, you know, they allowed for this. They're like, okay, you know, we'll coordinate this online, over the internet type of training for a couple of months for you, and then, you know, when you can make your way over, then you can pick up from there. That's interesting. I wonder how often that was the case, you know? Is it a rare thing, or was it kind of just situational?
俺ならできる。手全部伝えろ。全部見せよう。俺ならできる。
では、ダンスを見せてもらえますか？
はい、よろしくお願いします。
They said, all right, then let's see it.
Here, sir. Welcome to our house. 거꾸와 보통 매야 sweet. Welcome to our house. 거꾸와 보통 매야 sweet. 메뉴가 나온다. 날이 웃다는 듯만 상거리. 날이 도이스 가리 너 위도 가라 하지. 가라 하지. 막아서 하지. watch. 거기로 쏘자 mix them all up. 아침이 시절에 get it all. Taste of good and brand new yo. 야수고 시기기 되기 도. I want it to me now. 미 다시 켜봐 내 cross boundary. 격차이 난데 now we make your thing just like we go. Because we're one of a
It, so one thing I noticed is that he got he's very good at moving, especially like the big movements. I mean, but his expression, like in other words, it looks like he's chilling, like he's dancing and doing like some pretty big moves and everything, but the look on his face is like he's very relaxed in the facial expression, even though there's like some really big movements being engaged there. It's interesting to go from the popping sort of style. I have actually seen a lot of that because, like on TikTok and stuff. There's it's just very popular, but there's a lot of aspects of it that can actually be beneficial if you know how to sort of transpose the ideas onto like the different style. A lot of things to do with using your joints, weight distribution, balance, actually how to maintain a line, because if you don't, then it doesn't really look like popping, but this guy has a lot of like power in his moves, and also with popping, like there's the way I've seen it done, a lot of people will be able to do that, like relax their facial expression while certain movements are going on, and so if you can tweak it, if you can like, okay, pull away from that sort of stylistically, but keep that in mind, like keep like your ability to be present here while you're sort of extending in every direction at once at times.
ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。
Oh. I can never tell.
立っている姿勢も典型的なダンサーの姿勢です。典型的なダンサーの姿勢です。
ね。
ダンサー出身の人はダンスはうまくても、見る人の共感はうまくできないのに、君は完全に歌手のように共感をうまくできてます。
ありがとうございます。
そしてポッピンの習慣も全然残ってないですね。全然残ってないですね。
He's not even sweating after that.
ポッピンをやっていたと聞いて、とてもびっくりしました。練習生の生活について自由がなくなったと思いますが、大変じゃなかったですか？
自由がなくなっても特に苦しいと思うことはなかったです。
夢は
That means it's worth it to you.
もっともっと自由と引き換えに手に入れるものです。
Yeah.
はい。
このオーディションの参加者の中で、ダンスは一番です。
Ooh, wow.
一番です。
Wow.
ありがとうございます。
来てください。
ありがとうございます。
頑張ってください。
ありがとうございます。
I'm thinking about, you know, all of the auditions so far, right? And this is that point where things really start to like get interesting, because to see like those little cute guys, right, who are like tiny next to like these lanky tall dudes, you know what I mean? You just start like trying to imagine it in your head and what it would look like, you know. It's interesting the possibilities that are there, like what, you know. And I'm going through the same thing with like A2K right now, right, because it's still early on like this, and sort of in the beginnings, and I'm trying to imagine like what, you know, as you get closer and then you finally get to that sort of preliminary selection of the candidate, you know, the who have auditioned, that are gonna now, you know, have access to this opportunity. Then you start to think like, what is this gonna look like, and what is it gonna sound like? You know, I'm at that point with a lot of these shows, and just like, man, to see a dance, to see a choreography sequence with certain, you know, people in it, right? Like, and the different styles, the different energies, the different physicalities, you know, all these little things. It's like, it could be really, really interesting. It's a good thing. It's a good thing, right? And then also singing wise, I start to think, how would these voices sound together in harmonization?
ポッピーのやっていた人がこんなに踊れるのは不可能です。ポッピーのやっていたダンサーは動きをすぐ次の動きに転換するから、その動きの最後までしっかりやり終えないです。だから本当に驚きました。
But to be told that you're the best dancer that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty big. Of course, that was the trainee lot too. Yep, Tokyo.
J.Y.Park さんが韓国から東京まで来てくれて、
このようなチャンスはいつも来るようなものではなく、
自分が見てもらえる絶好の機会かなと思って、
一から全部教えていただきたいなという気持ちで
J.Y.Park さんに認めてもらってデビューしたいです。
JYP always has in these shows there's always a shot with his like shoes, you know, as he's walking, you know, he's like, see these ice creams?
今日は東京地域予選が始まります。リジのメンバーではリーマと綾香が東京出身だから本当に楽しみです。こんにちは。いつも同じです。明るくて元気なエネルギーを自分自身のもともとの姿を自由に表現できる人です。呼んでください。お入りください。
It's such an interesting sort of paradox, because while the emphasis is not on the technical skill level or the technical ability, And I guess it's different with dance, perhaps song. Yeah, I guess it with instrumental music, because that's really the extent of my experience. The more technically proficient you become, the more expressive you can be. It's almost like what he just said about giving up some freedom in order to have access to that. It's kind of like the sort of ultimate like level of that. Like, why do you sit and practice scales all day long, and or chord progressions, like transitions between chords? Why is it important to know that? Why is it important to memorize key signatures and things like this? It's because then when it comes down to playing, you're actually more free. If you need to play faster, if you need to play slower, if you need to increase the dynamic, if you need to decrease the dynamic, if you need to change keys, if you need to, like all of these things are very meticulous, and it requires you to really sort of constrain yourself at first. But then later on, when you get to playing and even when you get to writing and composing stuff, because you did that work and because you really focused in on it for a long time, you have access to all that stuff later and can become more expressive that way. But it's interesting in the song and dance aspect of it.
Hi, 入ってください。会えて嬉しい。
こちらこそ嬉しいです。
簡単に自己紹介してください。
はい、自分の名前は伊藤英二です。14歳です。よろしくお願いします。
どうしてこのオーディションに参加しましたか？
はい、自分は昔からずっとダンスを4歳の時から続けてきて、その時はまだ K-POP などはあまり聞かなかったんですけど、アイドルになりたいって思って、でそのために今練習してきたんですけど、その時にこの二次プロジェクト2っていうのに出会って、自分もやってみたいなと思って応募しました。自分の家族、兄と姉がいるんですけど、その2人がもともとやってて、自分もその影響で始めたっていうのが最初の始め方です。自分の踊りで観客を沸かせるっていうか、そういうのがやってて本当に楽しいですし、なんか自由に体が動いちゃうなっていうのがダンス始めて気づきました。
해보니까 어때요? 너무 재밌어요? 잘하는 것 같아요, 본인은?
はい、そうです。それはやっぱりダンスは自分の得意分野でもあり、好きっていうのがあるので、やってて本当に楽しいですし、ダンスは生活の一部というか、自分にとってやっぱりダンスは自分のものです。
Confidence, spirit. Well, let's see.
지금 좀 긴장되나요?
いや、本当に結構してます。
아, そうですか? 저는 뭐 긴장 안 하는 거 같아요. 안 떨고 있는데.
今本当に手が震えてたり、手汗がかいちゃってる。
아, 그래요?
パークさんとどんくらい距離がありますか？
한 그 정도의 거리?
Close enough to see ya.
本当に
Kinda
さっきよりも
has to
全
be
然
that
震え
way.
てきた。情熱。やっぱりダンスは曲が流れたら勝手に体が動いちゃったりしたりして、踊っちゃえばもう自分はもう踊れると思うので、自分がこれまでやってきたことを全部出せたらなって思います。
僕に習いたいことがあると書いてますね。
はい。
何ですか？
自分は
歌いながら踊るっていうのがこれまでやってきてなくて、その見よう見まねでやってきたりはしたんですけど、自分やってみると本当片方ずつはできるんですけど、両方一緒にやるとその片方どっちともできなくなっちゃって呼吸が続かなくなったりして、でも GI パークさんはそれが本当に上手でできているので、自分はそれが教わりたいなと思いました。
よく覚えておいてください。
はい、
胸から力を抜くべきです。力を入れるべき時は下っ腹にだけ入れるべきです。だから空気も下っ腹に溜まっているべきです。
なるほど、ありがとうございます。
すべてのテクニックはしっかり理解してずっと練習したら全部可能です。
なるほど、
でも今日いきなりやろうとしないでください。
わかりました。
ダンスほど歌も自信を持ってますか？
自信はダンスの方が本当にあるんですけど、でも歌も今回は練習してきたので、歌はとても自信があります。
Confidence.
気楽にしてください。
はい、お願いします。
苦手だとか怖いとか気づかなければ、苦手だとか怖いとか気づかなければ、俺だってボールと友達になれた。頭が悪いとか思わなけりゃ、きっとフェルマーの手にすら解けた。すれ違ったマサヤに笑われなけりゃ、ずっとコマ好きのチャリをこいでた。力が弱いとかどんくさいとか知らなきゃ俺が地球を守ってた。破り捨てたあの落書きや似合わないと言われた髪型、うろ覚えの下手くそな歌が世界を変えたかも。かつて天才だった俺たち、振動だったあなた、似たような形に整えられてみる関係もない。今だかつてないこと入り組んだ上、悩めるだけ悩め、時が来たらかませ、時が来たらかませ、風まくせ、どっちみちバラの上、俺らは大基盤せ、時が来たらかませ、wanna be a 勝者 wanna be a 強者、まだ見ぬ高みへ駆け込み乗車、花火のような定めだろうが、我が身果てるまでやりきれそうや。ありがとうございました。
That's a cool song, man. That's wow, that's super interesting. Well, first of all, if you're trying to dance and sing that song at the same time, it's no wonder that you ran out of air. But rhythmically, very, very challenging. And he's got actually a pretty good sense of rhythm, like to even make that sound right. You know what I mean? Pitch-wise, there's some of that patented scale training that needs to happen, because some of those jumps up, you know, trying to basically do those arpeggios around there, a little bit off, a little bit flat, you know, but he understands the idea and the sense of timing, that rhythmic sort of quality of it is. So he's got like a pretty good idea about that. So, but that was fun. That was actually like a really fun audition, you know. In a difficult song to choose, he was definitely confident, you know what I mean? And I guess like ultimately, if you're gonna go for it, you might as well go for it. Like if nothing else, it's gonna pretty much indicate right off the bat, you know, like some of those weaknesses and some of those things that need to be worked on. But overall, I think it was actually a fairly strong vocal audition, you know, performance. It was fun.
ダンスも準備しましたか？
はい、ソリ君
見せてもらいます。
はい。はい、お願いします。自分の表現力を豊かにしてここまで来たので絶対に受かってみせます。
I like the resolve. This kid picked like really interesting songs, and every like so you know the one he sung was rhythmically challenging and had a completely different type of feel to it than anything so far. And then this one too, right? This is, you know, it's got some interesting. I don't know if that's like the original choreography for the song from Stray Kids, like from the group, but he's chosen movements that stand out that from what everybody else has done just right off the bat. So the confidence factor is like definitely there. This kid, like, you know, decides that he's gonna do something and then he just goes and does it. So man, I don't know, it was cool. I think like some of those movements, you know, I mean maybe from the JYP trainees, but as far as these other auditions go, nobody's really moved like that yet. It was interesting. Yeah, I don't know what he's gonna say.
僕が一番多く受ける質問がどんな才能を探していますかということです。そしたら僕はいつも自分自身のもともと姿を自由に自然に表現できる人ですだと答えます。君がまさにそうです。
ありがとうございます。
緊張してないですか？
めちゃくちゃしてます。
どうしてそんなに余裕がありますか？
Because he's confident.
自分はたくさん練習ができるのが特別だと思うので、たくさん練習してきた分、こう本番でもできたのかなと思います。
そうだと思います。そうじゃなかったら自信を持って余裕を持ってすることができないです。
ありがとうございます。
This kid is dialed in.
何よりもいいことは自然に 余裕を持って自分自身のダンスで歌で表現することです。まず体の直径が本当にいいですし、リズム感は歌う時も踊り時も全部感じられます。
どっちみちバラの上俺らは大基盤性時が来たらかませ
テクニックと感じと全部良かったです。
ありがとうございます。
シーズン2を始めてとっても心配しました。優れた人材が現れなかったら
That's what he's always worried about.
でも今夜はぐっすり眠れそうですね。
ありがとうございます。
聞いてください。聞いてください。
ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。
Man, it's
ありがとうございます。
はい、お疲れ様でした。
お疲れ様でした。
제가 있으네. 쟤는 뭐
네.
무슨 옛날에 비 처음 봤을 때 그런 체격 조건부터 이 리듬 타는 것부터 이게 오시에라레 나이 것도 전부 못 해봤어. すごいね.
Infinite possibilities. Yeah. That's why a boy should dream, because there's nothing but possibilities ahead. You know, there will be a point when you sort of learn what you're able to do, and that's when you're a man, you know, and you're not a boy anymore. And it's both good and bad. I mean, you got some joy, and then you've also got some sadness. But while you're young, you know, you definitely should dream, because it's nothing but possibilities that are in front of you. This is shaping up to be a really interesting group of some pretty, like, there are talents that are very, very strong and well defined already, and then there are talents that, like, the potential is there, and you know, there's no telling how far it can go. It's already very interesting. I wonder how many there's gonna be, you know what I mean? Because it was a big group for Nizi project for season 1, right? That was a big group, man. Like, from just the auditions, just the regionals and all that. And by the time they got to the boot camp, like, I mean, that was a big group. I mean, heck, when they went on to the Korea, the second part, right, the second half, the second phase or whatever, they still had, like, it was supposed to be 14, but it ended up being 13. But I mean, that's a lot. That's the ones who, you know, made it through. So I don't know what the numbers for this one are going to be like, but it's definitely interesting, man. And I think that there's going to be some cool stuff, dude. Like, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. It's not, you know, it's not even that boot camp phase yet, where, you know, they get some training and then they get to put, you know, the dance eval and the song eval and everything together. I think those are going to be like crazy, right? If you consider that the stuff we've seen so far. You know, and then the way that he's, you know, JYP is saying, no, this is like the ace. Even considering the JYP trainees, if this is at least, you know, chronologically correct, because they keep cutting back to the Seoul audition, right, for the trainees that were there. But if that's true, if this is even considering the guys who already went through JYP training, and he's saying, no, this kid right here, this is the ace, that's pretty good, man. Like, that's pretty big. This is gonna be interesting for sure. But man, okay, all right, man, all right. Nizi Project Season 2. These are good. These are some good lads, man. I think they're gonna do like really well. I don't know how competitive it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be like A2K, where it's like, you know, they could all make it. I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think this is gonna be, there's a set number that they're going for, so I think it's gonna get a bit competitive, actually. Well, okay, man. I look forward to that, because I think some really, really great stuff is gonna happen for this series for sure.